Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very much. And listen, we love to get updates about things that are happening, very important things happening in our parish. The best person to get that information from, our own Chris Pulaski. Chris, thanks for joining us once again.
Thank you for having me, as always.
Of course. Chris, knowing those kinds of things, a lot of change. I want to get right into it. There's been some changes with some of the people that are in these temporary housing. And let's talk a little bit about some of the changes that took place, but some of the news that you got about that.
Yeah, so what we're talking about are the temporary housing programs that one was set up by the state. That's the IDA sheltering program.
Right.
Those are mainly all the travel trailers that you see around the parish and out at Rebecca Village off of 311 and Highway 90. And then we also have FEMA's direct housing program. Those are more mobile homes rated. They're not quite as long as a typical mobile home. They're a little bit shorter. But we have those throughout the parish on private properties and in two group sites, one in Bayou Blue Berg area and one out in Schriever.
Right.
The FEMA program has roughly about 965 units still occupied in Terrebonne Parish.
965.
Now, most of those are on private sites.
Right.
But there are those two group sites that I mentioned.
Right.
At the same time, IDA sheltering program, which is the state's program, as of today, they have 827 units throughout Terrebonne Parish. And again, most of those, almost 730, are in on private sites.
Right.
So some of the recent news, the state's IDA sheltering program was or is scheduled to shut down May 31st. So they're not taking anyone new into that program.
Right.
And of those remaining occupied units, the state's case managers that they have are working with each of those occupants to try and find them a suitable alternative. They're not going to make anybody homeless.
Right.
But they do need to close that program down, or that's what they're looking to do at least. And so they're working with those case managers to find suitable alternatives for those folks. And we were on a weekly call yesterday going through, a list of folks and providing information, but it's the state and their case managers that are mainly working that. And they're trying to find suitable alternatives. So I wanted to say that most recently the Restore LA program modified some of its eligibility requirements to open it up, I think, a little bit. Hopefully they can get more participation in there. And so for anybody out there who may have had an application that was denied, you might want to get back in touch with your case manager and see you might be eligible now.
Right.
But again, that's the state-run program. It's restore.la.gov is the website, and I would encourage anybody out there to get with their case manager on that.
Yeah, and we know that those sheltering issues are going to continue. I mean, there are some people that have a little bit less resources, but there are some options that people have, even though, and the last of those options is maybe getting something that's not in the parish, but maybe a neighboring parish.
Yeah, I mean, we hate to see that. We'd
Right.
love to keep people in Terrebonne Parish. As, that's where their friends and family are. That's where their job is, that kind of thing. But, we have a housing shortage. We had specifically a rental housing shortage and an affordable rental housing shortage.
Yes.
And the storm has made it very difficult. But friends or family, I mean, we heard, there's lots of stories out there. Each person's situation's a little bit different. And so some of them were able to go move in with friends or family. Some were able to repair their home and just need a little more time to complete it.
Right.
Some, it's pretty clear that none of those options are available. So for those folks, it's looking like, a voucher in another community or another parish would be the only way.
Right.
Shifting over to the FEMA program, some of the new or the changes that have come about recently. So up until the end of May or beginning of June, the occupants of the FEMA program were not paying rent. I'm sorry. It was a reduced rate.
Reduced rate of rent. $50.
18 months out, they had to start paying rent, and then it was a reduced rate is $50 a month.
$50, right.
Now, that FEMA program, they announced that the rate was going to increase beginning July 1st to the national average. But this parish, through the state, through the governor's office, has requested to continue the reduced rate for as long as the program is in effect.
Okay.
Now, right now, the end of May, that letter went out from Casey Tinkle, who's the director of GOSEP, to FEMA Region 6. We're waiting to hear back on that, but they requested that not only that the reduced rate be extended through the duration of the program, but also they requested that the program be extended to February, so another 6 months.
6 months, right.
So August 29th is when, right now, it's currently scheduled to end. This is the FEMA housing program, but the state has requested on parish's behalf to extend that program another 6 months.
And again, it's what we're doing here through the parish to make sure that we're guaranteeing that not everybody at a 2-year mark, which is what that's going to be, a 2-year mark is back where they want to be, need to be, or where they can be.
The recovery road's a long road, so it's
really
taking time, especially for someone who has limited means.
Right. Well, Chris, we always appreciate the updates. We always appreciate the information and certainly your time here with us. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
All right. And that will do it, guys, for this particular segment. Don't go anywhere. A whole lot more Bayou Time when we continue.